Stellantis has just unveiled what might be its most important EV development to date. A brand new battery system that could change how electric cars are designed, built, and even as well how they charge. It's a really interesting thing, this. You've probably not heard anything about this sort of stuff before. This is definitely a new sort of topic we're all going to get used to hearing about. It's not one innovation. They're kind of attacking this from multiple angles, all roughly at the same time. So smarter hardware. I'm talking about the batteries and the casing for the batteries and the cooling and the inverters and things like that, and where they go. And smart hardware, and with something that they're calling IBIS, abbreviated as IBIS. So progress as well on solid state battery cells, even a move into lithium-sulfur batteries, which is kind of new as well. So let's jump into this. Hello folks, Ben Alexander here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate your time. So let's start with the IBIS topic. I think that's a really interesting one. Let's go with that first, because this is the news that recently just broke. Stellantis has revealed the Intelligent Battery Integrated System. So Intelligent Battery Integrated System. The idea is pretty simple on paper, but potentially transformative when they put it into practice. Instead of having three separate bits of hardware for your EV, you've got the battery, the inverter, and the onboard charger. Stellantis has folded all of this basically into one package. The inverter is what turns DC power into AC power to drive the motors. The charger is what takes obviously AC power from a charger or a wall from the grid, for example, turns it into DC battery power in the batteries. Normally, these things are quite heavy, quite bulky, quite an inefficient part of the process really to get your car moving. And they're usually bolted on separately in the in the what do you call it? Not the engine bay, but the under the bonnet. You know, in and around all the gubbins, basically. Maybe it's a good thing to do to keep it separate, actually, but it's also maybe a bad thing to do, depending on how you see it. So it will make repairs harder, make them more costly. However, they very rarely fail. So why does this matter? Now, why does this matter? First of all, it does save 40 kilograms of weight. Every kilo saved either improves efficiency or it lets you add a bit more range. So it's obviously an important thing. Stellantis says it also boosts efficiency by around 10% because you don't have extra wiring and connections which are soaking up power. And because of the way that integrated systems manage charging, they're claiming that charging times can drop roughly 15% faster on the test vehicles that they've built currently. Like, for example, there's a Peugeot E3008 currently going around, a prototype on the road right now, and that's being tested by Stellantis. So we're not talking about lab diagrams or anything like that. They've moved well past this. They're actually driving cars around with this setup today. If it proves reliable and they do scale it, then you could see Stellantis roll it out across multiple brands before the end of, by 2030, I suspect. And remember, Stellantis isn't a small company. They're obviously one of the biggest manufacturers of vehicles globally. So we're talking about Jeep, Dodge, Peugeot, Fiat, Chrysler. It's a very big list. So when they make a change like this to battery architecture, obviously they make cars and they make electric cars and they're changing them potentially in a very serious way. This is going to be a big thing that will have a ripple effect through the industry. It doesn't just affect one or two models for a little while. It cascades across dozens of vehicles, potentially millions of vehicles sold around the world. So IBIS is only half the story, even though it's a very big deal. Stellantis has also been working very, very hard on their solid-state battery tech with a company called Factorial Energy. Back in April this year, they actually validated their first automotive-sized solid-state cells. And the numbers are really impressive, actually. We've got 375 watt-hours per kilogram energy density, compared with maybe 2 to 280 watt-hour per kilogram for most lithium-ion packs on the road today. That's a very big jump, obviously. It means that you can get the same range with a similar, smaller, lighter battery, or have much more range for the same size or same weight. So these cells are obviously designed for fast charging. Stellantis says that you can charge from 15% to 90% in 17-18 minutes. And they've obviously demonstrated stability over 600 full cycles. It doesn't sound like a lot, obviously, but in the real world, that is 600 cycles, 400 kilometers per cycle. That's 250,000 kilometers. So then you'll start to experience, some noticeable serious degradation, 10, 20, 30% sort of thing. That's well within warranty territory and actually lines up quite well with how most EVs are actually used. The plan is to start testing these solid-state batteries in a demonstration fleet by next year, 2026, likely starting with vehicles on Stellantis, on the Stellantis STLA large vehicle platform. Think the Dodge Charger, Daytona, and some other big models. That's when we'll really see how they handle in the real world the heat, the cold, the fast charging abuse, and the whole lot, basically. So if it wasn't enough, Stellantis is also hedging its bets with lithium-sulfur batteries. They've signed a development with a company called Zeta Energy to work on this particular chemistry alone. The selling points really are pretty clear. Lithium-sulfur cells can potentially be much lighter, rely on far fewer rare materials like cobalt or nickel. They can charge quite a bit faster. Zeta claims up to 50% quicker charging compared with current lithium-ion packs. And because sulfur is abundant and pretty cheap compared with nickel or cobalt, lithium-sulfur could also help cut battery costs. So the catch, of course, there's always a catch, isn't there? It is durability. They're not overly good in that sense. Lithium sulfur has been talked about for years, but hasn't really scaled because the cycle life tends to be short. They know it's compelling enough that if they can nail that, if Stellantis and Zeta can crack it and just get it to something usable, it would open up a whole new category of lightweight, affordable EVs. So why does it all matter if you zoom out for a minute? Stellantis, very big deal, millions of cars sold around the world. Stellantis has been criticised in the past for being slow on EVs, especially compared with Tesla, BYD, Hyundai, Kia. But what we're seeing here is actually a company that has decided to really skip ahead aggressively rather than just play catch-up with the same tools. They're saying, okay, lithium-ion battery packs with these separate inverters and chargers, kind of yesterday's design. We should do something about that. That's one thing that people seem to be not doing anything about. Let's integrate the whole thing into one big package. Let's get solid-state batteries ready, and let's explore lithium-sulfur just in case that's the win as well in 5 years' time. It's a kind of multi-pronged approach, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think what they're kind of doing is not putting all their eggs in one basket. Makes a lot of sense. So think about the benefits. If they stack up, if 2 or 3 of these things go really, really well. IBIS, lighter, simpler, faster charging, fewer parts, potentially cheaper. Solid-state batteries, we all know about that. So higher energy density, longer range, safer, no flammable liquid electrolyte, so faster charging. The dendrite issue should not really be there anymore. Lithium-sulfur batteries, lighter still, cheaper, raw materials, less reliance on constrained supply chains, and I think for Western people, maybe you could say it's a positive to not have to purchase stuff from China as much. It's a bit like Stellantis. It is building an escape hatch on every single wall of the EV battery maze, and if one path gets blocked, they've got another way out. I think that's kind of what they're planning. How can we definitely lock in not failing here? Of course, when you think about other companies like Ford, Jim Farley, really, really nice bloke, he was saying just how competitive it is, how difficult this move into EVs is. And I think this is the way Stellantis is deciding to deal with this, try and figure it out. So, of course, there are challenges. Integrating the charger and inverter into the battery pack raises some questions about cooling, servicing, longevity, and replacement. If your inverter fails, do you have to swap the whole battery? Is it going to be very expensive to get a mechanic to lower the battery and to fix that? This really does have to prove itself, I think, outside of a lab in large-scale production. Toyota, Samsung, QuantumScape all have been promising solid-state batteries for years, but nobody's really put it into a car yet that you can just go buy for 40,000 euros or something like that. And lithium-sulfur still has the durability issue hanging over it. They actually haven't fixed that yet, so maybe that will work. Maybe it won't work, I don't know. Stellantis doesn't need every bet, obviously, to pay off. They're hedging. So if even one of these approaches makes it to scale, like IBIS, solid-state, lithium-sulfur batteries, they'll have a competitive edge. And if 2 of them work, that is a competitive edge times 2. It's obviously a good thing. So let's talk about the very cold hard facts here, the real numbers. Imagine a Stellantis SUV with IBIS that saves 40 kilos and gets a 10% efficiency boost as well. less wires, less connections and things like that. On a car with a 400 kilometer WLTP range today, that would be 40 kilometers of extra range just from efficiency gains. So no extra battery needed, and add solid state chemistry as well at 375 watt hour per kilogram. Suddenly you're looking at 600 plus kilometers range in the same battery pack size. If lithium iron sulfur pans out, obviously you could have a family EV that weighs 200 kilos less than today's equivalent, charges faster, costs less money, and you get potentially more range. So to get an EV to go further, it isn't just about improving the cell chemistry. This is just what we're all talking about, it seems, these days. That's not just incremental. What is going on here is a very meaningful, large step forward in terms of technology and what they can offer in their products to sell to us. So you're talking about scaling across millions of vehicles in brands like Jeep, Chrysler, Fiat, Peugeot, Citroën. So that's why this is a very, very significant thing, what's going on here. Here's where I am on this. Stellantis obviously have been playing catch up for quite a while, but this shows that they're not just sitting on the sidelines anymore. They're being proactive. For the first time, 2025, they're starting to be proactive about it. They're aiming to leapfrog with the new architecture and new chemistry, not just following the Tesla BYD playbook. And frankly, the industry needs that. We don't want one or two battery companies holding all the cards. The more pathways that we explore, integrated systems, solid state batteries, lithium-sulfur batteries, the more resilient and affordable the EV transition becomes, the more options we have, the more competition there is, the cheaper the cars become, which for Europeans, we desperately need cheaper EVs. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Which of these paths excites you the most? Which is the least exciting to you? Solid state with its high energy density, lithium-sulfur with the promise of low cost and lightweight batteries, or the IBIS system that just kind of makes EVs smarter and simpler in a sense, but it has some questions over it, obviously the elephant in the room being repairability. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Again, thank you to these people on screen. Really appreciate you supporting the channel. And yeah, I love making my videos. I really do. I do this all the time. So yeah, it's really nice to have some people want to give me a couple of dollars to say thank you. I really appreciate that.